I'm on again. This time specifically on our PlayNext platform, which many of you at least have heard of and some have tried. We describe it as 4-in-1. So it's a tool that does combines the different technologies to make sure that we have the different technologies, and you'll see in a minute which ones they are in one tool, so that the different so that the editors don't have to go to different tools to do their work. So we'll talk about the PlayNext platform for those that are not familiar with it. We'll give a brief introduction what it does, and then we'll talk about the SELMA enhancements in the tool. So PlayNext. PlayNext is, we use this acronym to express that we can do translations into plain English, plain French, plain whatever other language, and we also explain it in the different languages. So it's a combination of different technologies, including transcription, translation, subtitling, and voiceover, and you will see that in a minute. So we are, this is a research and collaboration project, and we are a research and collaboration department, and the consortium here is focusing on that. Through research and collaboration, we have produced this platform, which is now being launched as a commercial tool, and it is currently being rolled out in Deutsche Welle. So it has gone from a pure research and collaboration prototype into a full product. What are we aiming at? We're aiming at facilitating multilingual editorial workflows. So we use AI in terms of HLT technology. We combine that with editorial control. The last aspect is very important. We are not aiming at a fully automated system. We're in the real editorial world, and we're helping the editors to do their work through these tools. And many of you are familiar with this view. So it's a modern, powerful, versatile toolbox, and you see the library here. In this case, we're mostly dealing with videos. It gives the videos and it stores them, and we can do many different things with them. This is basically the first view that we have within PlayNext. We also, we'll go back on details with details on that. It's also a fully integrated workflow, meaning it's not only that online tool that we're using, we're also integrating it with the infrastructure we have here at Deutsche Welle. So input and output. Input, for instance, we have integrated it with Open Media, which is our editorial data repository there. We start working from there, and we can send it automatically. We send the videos with the associated scripts. Very important, because that way we don't have to look for them. We don't have to do an upload. It gives the data, it brings the data into the platform with the editorial tool that the editors are used to working with. Then it goes into PlayNext, and we do our work in PlayNext. Then for the output, we send it, we import it into the post-processing tools, including Premiere, Hive, Media Loopster. We can do embedded subtitling. We can also produce closed captions. So it is important that it all fits within the full editorial workflow that we currently have. This we've implemented in Deutsche Welle. It can also be done for other companies as well. Then going back into the PlayNext platform. So this is not an online demo. I'm just showing you some screenshots. Those that would like to try it out this afternoon and they're at Deutsche Welle, then they can come and play around with the tool. So basically, we have 4 modes. We have transcription, translation, subtitling, and speaking, or voiceover, if you like. And we can do all those. We see here a view of the translation mode, and we can, most of you know what we do with this. So basically we follow this, we do transcription, that's the basis of everything. Then we can translate it into any language that we would like. And then for the output format, we can use the subtitling, or we can have it spoken with a synthetic voice. And this is important. This is why we work with this consortium. We have the different technology partners that provide the means to do that. We have, for instance, as we see later, customized voices for the voiceover, and that's what we're doing. That is the connection to these projects. So we can add a task, and this is just to show you that we can use the different engines for the task at hand. And for instance, for translation, you can choose DeepL or Google or Azure. And we have a benchmarking task, which then suggests the best tool that we have for this particular language combination. It doesn't only do the task, it also has different management options. For instance, we have task management. Here we see we have different boards. We have working boards at personal level, individual level, or at team level, or we can see what reviews have been sent to me, what items have been sent to me to do the review. We have the different, the status of the tasks that have been assigned but have not yet been started, tasks that are in progress, and tasks that are finished. And then we have a collapsed view here, and those are items that I have been working on but sent to somebody else for review. So the review process, as this is a very important part in the editorial work, is a core part of the whole platform. It's not only about translating or transcribing. It is about making this work for the editors so that we have a smooth process, and that is important. So we can create tasks, we can assign tasks to other people, we can collaborate, we can share tasks, and we can review tasks. And that kind of covers the whole workflow for us. And this has been established because of the collaboration with the editors, asking them, how do you work? How would you like this tool to work? And that is important. It's not from the research side we can't do that. It's a collaboration between the research side and the real world out there with you editors. It also has a content management system, so we can create and manage repositories. We do that through repository. Each department in Deutsche Welle has its own repository where they can put their videos. We import and share content, and we can add persons and teams to the repositories. Then we also have a user management system in the platform. Oops, I'll go back. And we can add users and create teams. We can add persons to one or more teams. Maybe you work in different language departments or different production departments. We assign roles to persons, and that you will see in the next slide. We manage workspace settings. We can have the defaults at workspace level, but also at user level. If you say, well, for my videos, this particular engine is better than the one that would be used by the team as a whole, because maybe you work on scientific text and the other ones work on more on the news. And then we can have the personal accounts. So there is a whole management system in the platform that supports the editorial work. So this is just to show you that we have worked very hard on the roles, and this was important that you say, okay, who can do what? Who can delete items? Who can delete tasks? Who can create them? Who can add people to the departments, etc. Then let's talk about, so that is what the platform does for those that were not familiar or those that are familiar with it, a review of that. What if we added recently to the platform as a whole? We started off with video because that was the most difficult format to work with. And we said if it worked for video, it'll work for the other ones, the other formats as well. So now we can also do it for audio and text. We're still doing some amendments for the text workflow in terms of user interfacing, but basically it covers all three formats. Then we, based on user input, we also enabled synthetic voice production on source language, which means that you can have a text and then have it spoken in synthetic voice. Before it was, okay, it's produced, the video is produced with a speaker. Now we want to produce it in another language. Then we had the question, well, can we just have it spoken in the source language without first producing the video? And one example of this would be our an audio podcast or a video or an audio podcast based on the text. So this is, again, the user input that they say, this is nice, but then can we have X, Y, Z? And then we also worked on the timeline. We have a vertical timeline so that we have all the different timelines that we can follow. And now we have added an additional format. Again, based on user input, we prefer to work with it this way. We don't necessarily want to take away what there was, so then we have different options and you can choose which format you want. So we're trying to improve the platform more and more based on users and their feedback. Then upcoming enhancements. What we're working on now is an enhanced user interface, which is goal-oriented, where we really guide the user through the different tasks. It makes it more transparent and easier to work with. It also shows them, you have 4 different steps, as we said, but you may only want to go directly to the last step. I want subtitling. I don't want to worry about the transcription or the translation. Give me the subtitling. You have an option to do that, and it guides you through that. We have shortcuts. We also have editors that say, okay, once you're familiar with the platform, we want to work very fast. Therefore, we need shortcuts. So we included more shortcuts in that. We're still waiting for it to be implemented, but we have that. And then enhanced subtitle rules. Again, to reduce the editing that we need to do on the subtitling. Increase the automation that's in there. Have it. We have the basis, but we'll continue improving on that based on feedback. So let's have a look at what SELMA specifically does to enhance this, because with this consortium, we develop modules to enhance the platform. There is a platform, we have it, but we need to work on that, and this is the right team to do this. We have changed or implemented the orchestration that was developed within the platform, which means when are the engines called and how are they going to do that? We implemented that with a new system in the back end. Then we have the University of Avignon has customized voices for us, Brazilian voices based on speakers from Deutsche Welle, who collaborated with the project. So this is really customization. Then we are working on, or we have implemented speech to translated text. So you have, instead of going through transcription, it goes immediately into translated text. And then we implemented the results of a previous project, we just finished. For low resource languages, we have these engines and we implemented them here as well. And then we worked a lot and are still working on benchmarking, which is suggesting the best engines for the different steps that we have, the different tasks. Then we have, this project has another 1.5 years almost to go, so we still have time to work on more, and we have a lot of objectives. So what we are working on as well is a speech-to-speech translation, which means you don't go through transcription, you don't go through translated text, you have like an interpretation. It's an interpreter. You go from speech to speech. The advantage here is that you can get the expressivity of the original text. The emotions there, you bring that to the end text. That is still at research level, but we are trying this out here, and we will compare, of course, the output from the traditional workflow. Then we have the language independent punctuation. So we said some ASR engines do not have punctuation. Well, we can't work with that as in an editorial workflow. If it's a text without punctuation, there is no way we can translate it. You need sentences. So if the engine lacks that, we build that on top of it. Again, not us, it's the technology partners. This is where the collaboration between user partner and technology partner is extremely important. We can't do that, and they can't do it without our requirements and telling us how this is done and the evaluation. Then we want to bring the user feedback into the platform and learn from that. So have machine learning based on user feedback that we have there. Both for transcription and translation, and in particular for named entities. What if these named entities, very important for transcription, main mistakes that are being made. So user feedback, user indicates this is wrong through the corrections, for instance, and then we learn from that. And then finally, we've heard about the Manitio platform. We link the Manitio platform to PlayNext. This can be done for source selection, so we can see what has Deutsche Welle. So all the Deutsche Welle languages are already in, and all the feeds are already in the platform. We can see, okay, what has, on a specific topic, which department within Deutsche Welle has published something on that topic. We get it in a language that we understand, be it English or German. Usually our target language now is English, but we can see what the Russian department has published, what the Hindi department has published, what the Urdu department has published, without having to know that language. We can see that. And then we can bring it, send it to PlayNext to do a full processing into the next target language. And one other use case here is the podcasting use case. And we'll hear more about that later. That is where we can get input from different from Manitio. We can say, okay, these are interesting items. Now build a new podcast on top of it and have it spoken in synthetic voice. Lots of plans and opportunities for this. So this is just to give you an overview of possible uses that we have for these technologies. One main use is, of course, enhanced accessibility. That can be through subtitling or just making it available in another language. That is making it more accessible. And obviously the subtitling in either source or target language, also synthetic voice for those that cannot read it or those that do not, many cultures don't have a reading culture. They don't read subtitles. They need to have it spoken in their language in order to consume it. And then we would, as I mentioned before, the simplified language would be a very nice one. This will not happen in SELMA, but these are goals that we would really like to work on. And then in terms of productivity here, of course, we want to do more languages, want to be able to do more content, process more content, process it faster, and make it easier for the editor. That is the prime goal for us using these technologies. In terms of output, what can we work on? For instance, transcription can be used for interviews. You remember what we used to do. If you had to do a real transcription, listen to it. I mean, it took ages, and they don't have the specialists anymore. We need these tools, and this is a huge increase in effort. Gain of time gain. Then we have multilingual subtitling. We have, I can't read it there. We have documentaries, versioning of documentaries, and again, the podcast use case, and then social media narration. We produce social media, we produce text on there. We can use these tools to do that and make it faster. And I think that is it. Thank you very much. And again, you can please ask questions. Please come to us through chat or here if you're in the building, and try it out. Thank you.
Thank you, Peggy. You stay a little longer to get some questions in? Very good. So that was the four-in-one tool. So 4 steps which can be done in one, but you also showed that there are many more outputs that you envision. So it's something which we can do now already, and which most likely hasn't been doable like maybe a couple of years ago. So, and that's where we are now, right there with this production of subtitling and voiceovers, and we can do it right away, pushing a button. So that's quite interesting what you showed. Maybe you have a question, or in the audience abroad, maybe there's a question. But you showed a lot to digest.
Yes, indeed.
So,
and much more to come.
Thank you. So 1 second, I pass it over.
Thank you. This is Afsar Awan from Urdu, and I've been the part of during the development process, PNX actually. My question is, rather, I have also already mentioned it in my feedback, that right to left languages, they are not, I mean, the process is not much efficient as LTR. So, I mean, is there any focus on this aspect? For instance, if you see this card, I mean, Urdu, in Urdu, it is written from left to right. So it is totally wrong. Same is Pashto and Farsi. So this is something that actually need to be more need a focus.
We need to be aware of,
yes,
aware of that,
exactly.
indeed. Yes, totally right. Thank you, Afsar, for this question. Yes, we are, it's not only Urdu, it's also Arabic, it's also other language we have been confronted with. And it is not an easy challenge, but it is something we focus upon now because it works for the other direction. So we have that works, and then if we're not familiar with if we're not focusing on the right to left, then you don't see these problems. And then we say, okay, this seems to work. Well, I can't read this. Or the punctuation. We had a problem with the punctuation. So these are things then, this is the feedback we get from the users, and we pass it on to the developers. And then sometimes it is language specific that we say, okay, we will solve it for Urdu or for Arabic. And then it's like, okay, but let's have a look at the other languages, because if it's not right there, it is maybe also true. Some of it is language specific, some of it is just the language type specific. So yes, we are working on that. We have seen that in transcription as well as translation. And yeah, it's again here, the user feedback is extremely important. We have some people who are aware and know how to read right to left. So the basics is covered, but then we still need the feedback. So very much here the feedback is extremely important, the collaboration. And I know these, both the Hindi department, Urdu department have been part of our research project or implementation project. So yeah, this is important. And we use the feedback, and then we try and solve that. Yeah.
And maybe one suggestion, like the synthetic voices.
Yes.
Would there be a possibility that, for instance, for Urdu, if, I mean, as you mentioned that for Brazilian language, they have recorded some clicks from DW, and then they have transferred to synthetic voice. So is there a possibility, or is there will there be a tool available that if I want my voice as a DW team member that to be synthesized, that can be used in the future for auto, voicing. So is there a tool, or would it be possible to create a tool?
There is not a tool for you to do that, but there is an opportunity for us to do that. We discussed this with the technology partners yesterday, and in particular, the University of Avignon is doing this for us within this project. So if there is data enough from one speaker, from the same speaker, then that voice from that speaker, and of course we need the permission to do that, then a customized voice can be produced, yes. And that is, so overall what we do is benchmarking. We look at what voices are available, and it's again the editorial department, so we can have a look first to see if it's technically good, and then we provide the different voices and we ask the editors to have a look, the editorial departments to have a look and see if they like it. But in addition to that, we have indeed the opportunity to customize voices if we get the training data, which means we need the text and the spoken version, and then we can build such voices.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mahesh. Yes.
Connected question. For how long this voice would remain in the system, and who all will be using this voice? If I give my voice, whether Deutsche Welle will only use this voice for how long? Till my retirement, or just for 1 year or so? Is
those are ethical questions, and this needs to be, if we use it in production. So right now, this is within this research project, and the speakers have given their authorization to build these. Of course, if we use it in reproduction, that's going to be decided, first of all, by the speaker. They own their voice and they give it away. It's their option to make certain decisions and to say, okay, for so long, this kind of content, whatever. And then, of course, it's the editorial. So we have the different levels, the speaker and then the editorial department. And then overall, I'm sure there will be a Deutsche Welle strategy. That is all part of our rollout and implementation plan. But we definitely, these are questions that will come up. In principle, a person owns his voice and you lend it, and then this has to be in writing. This has to be really decided. So first of all, get good voices, and then we'll talk about how we're going to use it. And yeah, but this is very interesting. We're also glad with the positive attitude and reaction of many speakers that they said, yeah, we'll collaborate with that. But definitely, these are legal things that have to be discussed. We do the technical part and we support the legal one, but we don't decide on the legal issues.
Thank you. Thank you very much.